what really happened to World of Warcraft? Back in the early 2000s, World of Warcraft wasn't just a game, it was everything. It launched in November of 2004 and quickly became the cultural nexus of gaming. By 2010, 12 million subscribers worldwide were logging in every month to quest, raid, or just hang out in Azeroth. There were guild rivalries, iconic memes, even a now legendary South Park episode, but now the numbers have fallen, expansions feel tired, and it just doesn't hit like it used to. We're going to take a good long look at why World of Warcraft peaked, how it cracked, and what remains in its shadow. So what is World of Warcraft and who made it? World of Warcraft is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, or MMORPG, built on the Warcraft franchise. Players choose a character, race, and class, complete quests, gear up, and take on epic encounters, either solo or alongside 40 other players in raids. Blizzard Entertainment launched it in November of 2004 in North America and early 2005 globally, facing massive demand and initial technical chaos. By March of 2005, the subscriber count reached 1.5 million. By 2008, WoW dominated 62% of the MMO market and had generated billions in revenue. By 2014, over 100 million accounts existed across expansions, and those numbers aren't chump change. World of Warcraft remained the top subscription game in history. The Golden Era. Wrath of the Lich King, the apex of Azeroth. When Wrath of the Lich King dropped on November 13th, 2008, WoW shattered records, selling 2.8 million copies on day one, and topping 11.5 million subscribers shortly after. Reviews lauded it as Blizzard's crowning moment. They introduced the Death Knight, WoW's first hero class, starting at level 55, offering players immediate power and a built-in narrative arc. Northrend, the New Continent, was Blizzard's largest zone expansion yet, packed with unique races like Vicrul and Tuskar, icy vistas, and death-defying quests, and lore that culminated in the confrontation with Arthas on the Ice-Crowned Citadel. But it wasn't just cinematic scenery, it was polish. WoW 3.0 brought graphical enhancements, achievements, and in-game calendar, the inscription profession, and even PvP vehicles for battle arenas. It was the time when Azeroth felt alive again. Your guild chatter was full of debate over raiding tactics, honor gear, and who got the first blade in Icecrown. For the first time since the Burning Crusade, WoW felt epic again. Subscribers surged, memes exploded, and it remains cemented as the golden age of WoW subscription culture. Mists of Pandaria. So this is going to be a controversial one, right? But let's fast forward to September 25, 2012. Mists of Pandaria launched, selling 2.7 million copies in its first week. It raised the level cap to 90 and introduced the Pandaren race, plus the monk class, an agile hybrid that could tank, DPS, or heal depending on spec. Blizzard's push into new aesthetics broadened their palette. They also added challenge modes, timed dungeon content that rewarded precision gearocrats and crowned mastery, bringing a new level of competitive dungeon racing into World of Warcraft. While community fallout criticized slower pacing and fewer WoW-style thrills, many players still consider Pandaria the most artistically polished expansion, blending lush forests and mellow humor with deep combat mechanics. On the grand subscription chart, MOP's peak hovered around 10 million users, dipping to roughly 7 million, still powerful enough to keep WoW relevant after Cataclysm's decline. Legion. August 2016 brought Legion, revitalizing WoW's core gameplay with class halls, artifact weapons, and world quests. Repeatable daily objectives spread across zones for constant engagement. The expansion matched Cataclysm's launch hype, selling 3.3 million copies on release day, and receiving industry praise. IGN called it WoW finding its footing again, and many critics hailed it as Blizzard still crafting MMO experiences better than anyone else. Legion pulled in about 8.3 million subscribers at peak, before standard seasonality trimmed the base down to 5 million plus. Players loved the dark story arc, battling the Burning Legion, reclaiming Titan's artifacts, and even reclaiming home continents, offering a redemption storyline that felt epic again. Legion's quality of life updates, redesign of dungeons, and Mythic Plus endgame system created endless replay value. It was the expansion a jaded player base needed, and WoW won back respect. Battle for Azeroth. By August 14th, 2018, Battle for Azeroth, or BFA, was live, boosting the level cap to 120 and debuting continents like Kul Tiras and Zandalar, tied to 4 allied races for both factions. It sold 3.4 million copies on day one, making it WoW's second fastest selling expansion. It mixed warfronts, dungeons, raids like Uldir and Dazalor, and cinematic storytelling focusing on Sylvanas and the Horde's controversial path. Subscriptions peaked around 8.3 million, dipping to 5 to 6 million averages depending on the content patch cycles / classic bounce back campaigns. While the story generated heat and Blizzard developed solid visual, narrative choices polarized fans. Still, BFA delivered memorable moments: Siege of Zuldazar, War of Lordaeron cinematic, and island expansions as light-hearted stress relief. Why these expansions felt legendary? Wrath delivered cinematic storytelling, new class design, and fresh continent scale. Everyone had iconic moments: your guild first killing the Lich King, or ringing death coil beads, or riding horses off Ogrim's platform. Pandaria rebuilt identity, had themed aesthetics and new class mechanics, and creative side systems like pet battles and challenge modes. Legion introduced modernization, class halls, artifact gear, reputation rework, Mythic Plus, and revived community activity, whilst BFA pumped up drama. Faction warfare turned personal, new races, robust endgame raids, and cinematic highs despite the controversial creative direction. According to forum and subscription data, these 4 expansions represent WoW's golden arc, from 12 million subs down to a steady 8 to 9 million, but with constant improvements on content and innovation. Where it all started to fall apart. After the highs of Wrath, Pandaria, Legion, and BFA, Blizzard stumbled into what can only be described as the most expensive midlife crisis in MMO history: Warlords of Draenor. Enter Warlords of Draenor in 2014, a time travel, alternate dimension fever dream that confused lore veterans and alienated new players all in one swoop. On paper it sounded cool, revisiting old orc warlords before they drank the demon juice. In practice, it was like watching your favourite TV show reboot itself with zero explanation and expecting you to care. The game introduced garrisons, which were supposed to be customizable player bases, but in reality they were glorified idle games. No social interaction, no actual town building excitement, just another mobile style grind that disconnected players from the world. It felt like WoW had built an MMO for people who didn't really want to play an MMO. Content droughts plagued the expansion. Outside of the initial launch hype, players were left wandering the desolate plains of Draenor, wondering if Blizzard had forgotten about them. Many did quit, others hung around, hoping that the next patch would fix it, but it didn't. This was the first real Exodus era. Shadowlands. Then came Shadowlands, the 2020 expansion that promised high concept afterlife lore, new zones like Bastion and Maldraxxus, and a look at what lies beyond death. Unfortunately, what lay beyond death was more death. Shadowlands had great ideas, but buried them in systems so bloated they felt like tax returns. Covenants were the big pitch, factions you aligned with that offered unique skills and cosmetics, but instead of empowering players, it locked them into restrictive builds, punishing experimentation. If you picked the wrong covenant, suddenly your DPS was trash, your raid leader was angry, and your soul binds felt more like soul shackles. Add to that the drama with Torghast, the controversial lore turns, and story decisions that left players scratching their head like, wait, the jailer is the big bad who? Even loyalists began turning out. Shadowlands was supposed to be philosophical, and it ended up just being forgettable. Blizzard tried to bandage it all with patch after patch, but the damage was already done. The energy was gone, the passion was gone, and the player base also gone. Blizzard's fall from grace. To understand where WoW started to crack, you've got to understand the company behind it, Blizzard Entertainment. Once the golden child of gaming, Blizzard was the studio that could do no wrong. Every release was a hit. Warcraft, Starcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, they were absolute juggernauts. But behind the scenes, the culture was rotting. Reports of workplace harassment, discrimination, and toxic leadership started leaking. Lawsuits dropped, the public image imploded, and key talent left. The Blizzard polish publish that had once defined their games, gone. Deadlines were missed, expansions felt rushed or soulless. WoW updates started arriving like your pizza, after 2 hours, cold, disappointing, and already refunded mentally. Even worse, their responses to the criticism were tone deaf. Players would beg for change, and Blizzard would respond with, "We hear you. Here's another currency system and in-game store mount." It was the epitome of being out of touch. The community, once fiercely loyal, started fracturing. Some players moved on and others became bitter critics. A few stayed, but mostly to complain. Blizzard had gone from being the heart of gaming culture to a meme, and not the good kind, the sad remember when this was great kind. Legacy, impact, and a broken throne. Despite its missteps, World of Warcraft changed gaming forever. It wasn't just a game, it was a social experiment, a cultural movement, a virtual second home for millions of players. This was the game where people met lifelong friends and joined guilds that felt like family. They scheduled their lives around raid nights. It popularized the MMORPG genre in a way that had never been done before. WoW didn't just dominate, it defined what an MMO was for an entire generation. Pop culture felt it too, from the legendary South Park episode to Mr. T commercials, and Chuck Norris voiceovers. WoW was everywhere. It appeared in movies, memes, YouTube machinimas, and even late night TV. If you were a gamer in the early 2000s, you either played World of Warcraft or you lied about not playing it. Its influence can be seen in nearly every live service game today. Destiny, WoW inspired. Final Fantasy, a spiritual rival built on the foundations that Blizzard helped pour. Even Fortnite, in all of its chaos, carries DNA from WoW's event-based community culture. But now, the kingdom is cracked. New players don't care. Veteran players are jaded, and streamers use it for content during dry months, then dip. The magic is hard to recapture when you've watched the wand snap in half. And yet, there's a strange comfort in that, because even if WoW isn't what it used to be, its legacy isn't gone. It's baked into gaming history. It lives in the stories we tell and the memes that we share. So what comes next? Well, some ex-Blizzard devs formed Singularity 6, releasing Palia, a cozy, community-centered MMO inspired by garden sims and the core social values World of Warcraft once held. Unfortunately, despite high compromise, Singularity 6 faced layoffs of 35% of their team and was later acquired by Daybreak. It's an attempt to revive player-first design with a smaller scale, but even that came with growing pains. World of Warcraft is no longer the unstoppable force it once was. It peaked, it faded, and now it lingers on legacy, supported by die-hard fans and nostalgia. But what matters most is the cycle that it highlights. Success demands constant evolution, trust, and community respect. What do you think? Is WoW salvageable, or already a comeback attempt rerouting into cozy corner cases like Palia? Drop a comment, hit like if you remember your first raid wipe, and subscribe for more deep dives. I'm Jack, this has been the ProdigyCraft, and until the next one, peace out my friends.